Hello everyone, happy Monday. Welcome to your Trecena update. Today marks the beginning of a new Trecena or 13-day period in the Mexica or Aztec calendar. So I like to think of these as almost like an energy report, right? What's going on in the next 13 days, and this is a really fun one for me. I love this particular energy, which is Ce Miquiztli, or one death. And in the Mexica cosmovision, death is it's part of the balance of life, right? In order for life, there must be death. And it's a really fascinating energy. It's understanding the concept of change. Death is really about change. What changes when someone dies? What changes when the season, when the plants and the trees drop their leaves and go dormant? Right? It's all about shifting and navigating those changes, allowing things to die to make way for new things. When someone has a baby, right? The parents are the parents who had no children, the parents that were single and perhaps had a different lifestyle die and become parents. They're born into parenthood. And when we get married, it's a death and rebirth. The single person becomes a married person. It's a death of an identity to allow a new identity and a new person to be reborn. We shift and change. And when we start looking at death in this way, we start to recognize it as a transformation. So this 13-day period that we're beginning today is going to bring about a lot of change. It's going to ask us to reflect on what we're ready to let go, what we're ready to move on from, and allow to die so that we can bring in the new versions of ourselves, the things that perhaps haven't been allowed to enter into our space because we're holding on to the old versions of ourselves, to the old identities. It was really fascinating. This past weekend, I was at a baptism, and I haven't gone to a mass in a long time. And so it was really interesting to be at this mass and listen to some of the readings and see them in a different way, see them energetically. My Maestro Hugo, who is actually the person who taught me the Aztec calendar, talks about how the church and the readings that they do on during the masses, they are very specifically tied to astrological events. So he says anytime there are celebrations of the virgins or of the Marys, those are earth celebrations. And I thought that was really fascinating. He goes, so there's so much more that we don't fully understand, but it's all energy. Even the passages from the Bible are energetic. That's why certain passages are read on certain dates. And the one that they were talking about on yesterday was all about having faith, and how our faith has the ability to create any change, has the ability to move mountains. And I thought it was a really beautiful, when I was listening to it, I thought about our power of manifestation. And the church sees it as surrender to God. You give yourself to God. You surrender fully to God. And really, it is about surrender. It's about full surrender of letting yourself go, letting your identity go. And when you allow your identity to go, you have a death. You experience the death of who you thought you were, and you allow the unlimited possibilities to enter. You have access to unlimited possibilities. If you follow our friend Carla Mora at Time to Heal Us, she had a recent experience where one of the shamans that she's working with was telling her about everything being energy. And when we tap into the knowing that we are energy, and and this is what Maestro Hugo said to me as well, we are energetic, we have our own energetic fields. And when we learn astrology, when we learn astrology through tropical astrology or through Aztec astrology, what we're talking about is how our energetic field relates to the energetic field of the sun in the case of the Aztec calendar, or other planets. And all of that is super important because it allows us to see our place within the universe. And so understanding those energetic fields, we have the ability to manifest. And in order to fully have access to our unlimited powers of manifestation, we have to be willing to die, right? We have to be willing to let go of the attachment to a particular identity. And that's a death. Many people call that an ego death. And it is, in a way. And I don't necessarily believe in, we become egoless beings. We're here on earth and we have an ego for that purpose, for our individuality and for our own expression of self. But we don't have to become attached to that ego. We can play in the realm of the ego because that's what we're here to do. We're here to experience life in that way, but we don't have to become attached to it. So this 13-day period is a great opportunity for you to exercise non-attachment with your ego. Perhaps allow yourself to die to the person that you think you are. Some of us think that we're broken or wounded or sick, or have all of these identities that we create because of the things that happen to us. What would happen if we separated ourselves from those identities? What if we allowed those parts of ourselves to simply die and allow space for a new version of us to come through? What would come through? What are the possibilities if we were to allow that to happen? And I think for some of us, that's a little bit scary to think about, like, well, what's underneath it? What is the other option? If I'm not who I am, if I'm not this person that I'm used to being, who am I? And I don't know, maybe this is a great time for us to sit with the discomfort of that. So I'm going to pull a couple of cards to see if we can get a little bit more insight, a couple more ideas or direction, perhaps, perspectives, and see what pops up. Let's see. I'm working today with the Light Seers Tarot. I just got a new deck and I'm really excited about it. I received it today, so I'm going to take some time to connect with it, sit with it, take some alone time with it, and see what it has to show me, see what it has to teach me. So we have lots of invitations for this 13-day period. The first is the moon. And I'll show you what it looks like right side up. And so the moon is all about illumination. It illuminates the darkness. It illuminates the things that perhaps we are not always conscious of. In the Mexica cosmology, the moon is... In the Mexica cosmology, Nanahuatzin and Tecuzistecatl are two beings that are summoned when creating when creating this world, this fire that we're living in now, this existence, and this earthly realm. And all the gods are invited to come in and bring offerings. And Tecuzistecatl is a wealthy god. Has all of these offerings. He brings the finest feathers and jewels and stones and puts them on the altar. And Nanahuatzin is a little bit more humble, and he makes his own offerings. He takes things from the earth, and he doesn't have all of these treasures. And so when during this ceremony, as they're creating the new earth, they ask who will jump into the fire to become the sun. and this Tecuzistecatl is afraid of jumping in, right? He's like, I'm ready, yeah, I brought all these offerings, and he's really full of himself. But then when he gets to the point of jumping into the fire, he backs out. He's afraid. And Nanahuatzin, the more humble deity, jumps right in and immediately becomes the sun. And so this Tecuzistecatl is like, oh crap, like he did it. And so he ends up jumping into the fire as well. And it's too late. We can't have two suns now. So he becomes the moon. And he is, here to illuminate the night. And so what the moon is for me in the tarot, the moon is a reminder to show us, to bring light to the parts of ourselves that we don't really want to see. Right? We have, especially in this 13-day period of allowing ourselves to die, in order to allow ourselves to die, we have to be willing to look at those parts of ourselves that we don't really feel comfortable looking at. And sometimes we have all of these excuses, or sometimes we become attached to these identities and we think that that is who we are. We're not really willing to look at what's under our attachment to that identity. Sometimes, I know for myself, I became really attached to my hormonal imbalance, and that was a thing that I always talked about. I was constantly sharing memes about my imbalances, about my illnesses, and this is who I am, and this is, I had this identity of who I was. I was a sick person. And woe is me, and I'm always suffering. And it was really interesting to finally sit with myself and recognize that I had created an identity out of that. And that's not to say that I have fully healed myself, because I haven't. There are still times where I fall into that. And when that happens, I take a moment to look back. Okay, what do I gain from this? Is it pity that I'm looking for? Is it comfort? Is it some sort of, I don't know, somebody perhaps offering me support? Is that what I want? So what the moon is asking us and inviting us to do is to allow both of our sides to be illuminated, the light and the dark. Because we're very happy with showing our light to the world. We're very happy showing the things that we think are positive. But can we be open and vulnerable about the things that are not so positive, that some would consider negative? Are we open with our shadow? Are we willing to allow our shadow to come through and give it a voice, let it show up? Because once we allow it to come forward, then it's easier for us to let it go. It's easier for us to let that cycle close out and die to that and be reborn into the new opportunities that await. The next card is the Page of Wands, and this also came up in reverse. Pages are messengers, and wands are our creativity, our passion, our fire. And the Page of Wands is kind of like a beginner page. This is the beginner energy. This is a message of, sorry, I'm dog sitting and the puppies are loud. This is a message of tapping into the playful nature of what our passions are, what drives our passion, our joy, our excitement. Where is our creativity? Can we flow with it? Can we allow ourselves, can we sit down and play with the things that bring us joy and allow those things to get the messages out to us? Sometimes we take ourselves a little bit too seriously, and so this is an invitation to play. Be curious about your creativity, about your joy, about your passion. It doesn't have to be all serious. And maybe when we allow ourselves to tap into that energy, we can potentially receive the messages that are hidden underneath the surface, right? Like the moon is asking us to illuminate. And the last card is the Five of Swords. And the this also came out in reverse. The Five of Swords is a card of, this is usually a card of betrayal, a card of feeling cheated, If, I don't know if you can see on the card, there's somebody over here that looks like they've won. There's some blood spilled over here. So potentially this can mean sometimes when we feel that other people have taken from us, have betrayed us, have won something that we wanted, but not through honest means, right? There's blood back there, there's betrayal, and sometimes it's self-betrayal. In this reading, it feels like self-betrayal. How are you betraying yourself and not allowing your truest and authentic self to come forward? And of course, the only way we can figure that out is by looking deep within, by illuminating those parts of ourselves that we're not willing to look at. And asking ourselves, where am I betraying myself? Where am I not allowing my creative process? Where am I not allowing my joy to come through? Why am I hiding behind seriousness, behind all of these things that I think I have to do? And perhaps that's what we are ready to let go of during this 13-day period. How can we strip away the parts of us that are not authentic, the parts of ourselves that are not in alignment with who we truly want to be? Are we living life for ourselves, or are we living life for everyone else? And so that's the invitation for this next 13-day period. Ce Miquiztli, one death. It is time to allow those parts of ourselves to slip away, to end that cycle. It's all cyclical. Death and rebirth are simply cycles. And so when we allow those cycles to close out, we make space for the unlimited potential that awaits for all of us. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that it resonated with you. And just a quick reminder, if you would like an Aztec birth chart reading, I offer those at $88. You can send me a DM or visit sovereignlove.nyc with the link in the bio to set up an appointment. I also do tarot readings. I did want to talk about the Aztec birth chart readings because these past couple of weeks, or this past few weeks, I've been working on a few Aztec birth chart readings for my friend Carla, who took a group to Peru. They actually started this past weekend their 10-day retreat in Tarapoto, Peru. And I had the honor and privilege of working on their Aztec birth charts in preparation for their trip, to give them a little bit more clarity on what energies they have access to, they can work with, what energies are influencing them, and how they can tap into those energies during this 10-day shamanic. Got a phone call. I think I'm back. So I had the amazing opportunity of working on these Aztec birth charts, and it was so mind-blowing to see, first of all, the type of people that went on the shamanic cleanse, because I feel like everyone had there were similar themes among everyone that went to this retreat. And I also had the gift of speaking to someone. It was really interesting because Carla at one point wrote a post about these Aztec birth chart readings and was saying that it's almost like an ancient form of human design. And as it turns out, one of the participants had someone do her human design chart and was saying, holy cow, I cannot believe the similarities between my human design chart and my Aztec birth chart reading. There were so many similarities and so much confirmation. So it's a really, really interesting tool to have in your tool bag of something that you can go back to and refer. What energies support me? What energies affect my energetic field, and how can I tap into them? How can I ride those waves and work with those energies to support my journey? So if you're interested in that, you can tap the link in our bio and book a reading with me. So I hope you have a magnificent week and a magnificent Trecena of Ce Miquiztli. I love you, and have a wonderful night. Bye.